Hello there, what is the crack? It's Paddy Jobsman here, and today we're talking money. I'm going to give you proven strategies for negotiating your salary and maximizing your take-home pay before you start a new job. And the reason that I said proven is because all of these people here have used the information that I'm about to give you to negotiate a 50% pay rise, a 45% pay rise, a 25% pay rise, a 30k bump in salary, a 20k bump in salary. So this stuff works. It worked for all these folks and it will work for you too. So let's get right into it. The first step will be to find out what the average market rate is for the jobs that you're targeting. So how much are companies willing to pay someone with your level of experience and skill? And through your research, what you want to do is find a range. And this range will form the basis for what you're going to ask for when you get the job offer and it's time to start negotiating. Now, the first port of call will be to review job listings on company career websites and job boards and just get an idea of what companies are paying out. Now, not every role will have the salary listed, but some will. I also recommend talking to people who work in the same industry as you. So this could be colleagues, ex-colleagues, ex-managers, your current managers, any peer that you have some form of a relationship with. This could even be, your first connections on LinkedIn. And if you're talking to people who are working in your target position, you don't have to ask out straight, how much are you on at the minute? You can simply say, look, I'm applying for these type of roles and I'm thinking about asking for a salary package in the range of X and Y. Does that sound reasonable? And if they're sound, they'll be able to tell you if it's high or low. They'll be able to guide you. Now, of course, if you're feeling adventurous, you could just sit down with a colleague and say, you show me yours and I'll show you mine. The next port of call will be salary calculators. Now, I have a few popular ones on screen here, but bear in mind that all of the data that you'll find on these websites is self-reported by actual people. So the information isn't going to be entirely accurate, but it will give you a broad idea of what kind of range you can expect to be working with when you enter the negotiations. I also recommend Googling salary calculators because you'll find companies who report on salary data in your area, because a lot of the information on these websites on screen is from America, so it might not be relevant to you. Now, if you're looking for jobs in America, what you can do is go to any popular job board and then put the location as Colorado when you're searching, because within that state, it's a legal requirement for all companies to publish the salary on every job listing. So that way you can get a good idea of what the average market rate is for your target position. And lastly, I recommend connecting with as many recruiters and headhunters as possible, even people working in HR, because they will have inside information on what companies are paying employees. Now, before entering the negotiations, it's important that you plan out what you want, because you can negotiate more than just money alone. So after you've done your research and you've defined your target salary range, it's time to have a think about what benefits could sweeten the deal for you. And to get the ideas flowing, here's a list of common benefits that you can try and stir into the pot. So things like additional pay time off, a sign-on bonus, work from home options, maybe the company pays for professional training as part of your package. Everything listed on screen here is definitely worth your consideration while you're forming your plan of attack. And how I recommend that you lay out that attack is with a 3-point plan. Plan A, Plan B, and Plan C. So Plan A, we're shooting for the stars here. We've done our research, and for your target job, you found that someone with your level of experience and skill set and background and knowledge should be earning in between 50 to 60k. So Plan A will be going for that 60k and, a bit more. Why not? We're going to ask for it. So Plan A is landing on that number that you would be absolutely delighted with. So that's going top of the list, okay? If you don't ask, you don't get. So we're going to go for it. Then we have Plan B, the fallback. And here you're requesting a base salary that you'd be happy to accept, but you're requesting additional compensation in the form of benefits, which we just discussed. And these benefits will make up the difference so the total compensation package reaches the top end of our target range. If plan B doesn't materialize, then we move on to plan C, which is negotiating the minimum amount that you are willing to accept in order to work. So put some time into developing and mapping out your 3-point plan so you have a good idea about what it is you want to get out of the negotiations. Because when you have a plan, when you have a direction, when you know what you want, well, then you're going to be far more likely to get it. Now, with your plan mapped out, it's time to start thinking ahead to the interview. And if you go in without knowing the salary range because the company has failed to disclose this information, I recommend finding out what it is. What is the salary range? Find out as early as possible in the process. This is to avoid wasting your valuable time, because you don't want to get dragged through 5 interview rounds and a presentation only to find out that the salary is just way off. So there's never any harm in just saying in the first conversation, look, just to make sure we're in the same ballpark here, can you tell me what the salary range is for this role? Of course, they might throw the ball back at you and say, what are your salary expectations? Now, the first option here will be to delay your answer if you are unsure about what the job is all about. So early in the process, there's no harm in just saying, look, before I can give an accurate salary range, I'd just like to know more about the role and what's fully involved. Now, the second option will be to provide a wide range and reframe your salary as an investment. I don't recommend trying to be evasive and say, oh, I want to be paid fairly, I want to be paid market rate. It doesn't show confidence. What you want to do is demonstrate to the hiring manager that you know your value, you know what you're worth, you know what you want. That shows that you are competent, you are a serious operator, and you know where you're going. There's lots of advice out there saying to avoid the question and get the employer to show their hand first. But what you have to remember is your salary expectation at this stage is only an estimate. It's not a binding contract. You reserve the right to increase the amount that you want as you learn more about the job. So don't worry about lowballing yourself. Now, when providing your salary expectations and you're giving your range, like I said, you want to reframe it as an investment. You want to position yourself as the solution to the company's pain. So the best way to lay out your case is to review the job description and identify what challenges or problems is this hiring manager facing. It will also be worth your time just researching the industry that the company is operating in and figuring out what are the biggest challenges going on at the moment. And when you're building your pitch, bear in mind that the hiring company wants you to come in and either generate revenue or save them revenue. So have a think about how you can integrate those elements within to your salary pitch. If you can convince them of doing either of those things, not only will it make it more likely that you'll land a job, but far more likely that you'll get the money that you're after. And the information that you gather will allow you to identify what evidence from your background, from your experience, shows that you can come in and solve the hiring manager's problems. And that could be either through demonstrating times where you've solved either the same problem or similar problems. So it doesn't matter if you don't have direct experience, you can draw on relevant experience that shows that you are the man or the woman for the job. So to help you with putting together your pitch and laying out your business case, here's a script that you can follow, and I've included this below in the description. So here's how it goes. At the start, you want to, mention that you're flexible, but you want to reference the main objective of the role. So we start off by saying, I want to first preface my answer by stating I am certainly flexible and open to discussion. Now, as detailed in the job spec, my main objective in this role will be to do X. Then you want to provide evidence that you can indeed achieve the main objective of the role. And you say, I am very confident I can execute on these deliverables given my verifiable track record while working at your past company or your current company, where under similar circumstances I did X to achieve Y. Then for the big finish, you want to reiterate your value while laying out the compensation package that you're after. So based on the goals outlined, coupled with my relevant skills and experience in helping either companies, leaders, teams do relevant goal or target, along with reviewing the average market rate for the job that you're targeting, the total compensation I would be seeking is in the range of X and Y. How does that compare to the range of this position? Now, within that final statement, there are three key elements. The first is the term total compensation. And I got this tip from a fellow by the name of Daniel Space. He goes by Dan from HR on TikTok, and he is a salary negotiation expert. He's the one that approves compensation packages. And one of the reasons why it's important to include this term is because it leaves more room for negotiation, because it shows that you're open to more than just money. The second key element is that you provide a salary range. You don't give a single number. Now, this range could be anywhere from 10 to 20k, even more for more, mid to senior level positions. But the reason you give a range is because it's very likely that the hiring manager will lock on to the lower range. So just make sure it's a figure that you would be happy to accept. And the final element is to finish your pitch with the line, how does that compare to the range of this position? Again, I got this tip from Dan from HR, and it's a really professional way of just asking the interviewer, what is the salary for the role? And you'll learn then if the company pays market rate, do they pay fairly? And you'll also learn, can this company pay you what you're seeking? So it's a perfect way to just wrap it up. Now, this strategy is geared towards the first interview where you're just learning about the position. But as you get further along the line and the company makes you a job offer and they tell you what the compensation package is, you may need to counteroffer. And here's how you go about it. This counteroffer strategy is based on the specific objectives that the hiring manager wants you to come in and achieve. So early on in the interview process, get this information, gather it and put it in your back pocket for the negotiations. And you can simply ask the hiring manager, what are you hoping is achieved in this role within the first 12 months? Or what would success look like in a year from now? And they're going to respond with some big goals that they want you to come in and achieve. And after they lay them out, gather more information, follow up with the question, and what are your biggest challenges, or what are the biggest challenges in the way of achieving these objectives? So what this does is it forces the hiring manager to lay out the biggest problems that they're facing, the goals that they want you to come in and achieve. So all of this data is going to be really powerful when putting together your counteroffer pitch, because you'll know exactly what to blend in order to convince the company to pay you exactly what you want. And when the time comes to counteroffer, here's how to lay it out. So you start off by referencing the goals that the company, the hiring manager has said that they want you to come in and achieve. So it can go something like, as you mentioned earlier, my main objective in this role will be to get XYZ company's client base to 300 users. So whatever the goal is, whack it in there. Then we're going to provide evidence that shows we are capable of coming in and achieving these goals. So it can go something like, this goal is something I am very confident I can not only reach but exceed given my track record while working at ABC company, where under similar circumstances I did XYZ. So again, you're making a strong business case that you can actually solve the hiring manager's problems. And then end your pitch by detailing how the company is going to benefit financially from your work, and for those reasons you want an increase on the salary offer. So you can say, bearing all that in mind and with my projected targets set to generate an additional whatever for your company by next year, your salary offer of 58k is a solid number that we can work from. How can we bring the total compensation to 65k? Now, I understand that you won't always have this information where you can actually say, okay, my role is going to generate this amount of revenue, or it's going to potentially save the company this amount of money. You won't always have that information. So go with part 1 and part 2, and then just wrap up by saying, look, your offer of 58k is definitely a solid number that we can work from, and then hit them with the line, how can we bring the total compensation to 65k? Done. There you go. Now, sometimes it can be much simpler than that. I've seen people have success with the line, look, I'd sign right now if you could make the offer 65k. Shake hands, deal done. Now, I also want to add that when the offer comes in and you need some time to think about it, there's no harm in moving the negotiations to email. And there's a lot of benefits to negotiating through email because it creates a paper trail so that everything is in writing. So let's say further down the line where, you were promised a performance target or whatever it was, you always have that reference in the email that you can point back to and say, look, you said that, give me my money. It also takes the pressure off everyone to, make an immediate decision. Both sides can sit back, take in the information, and then decide on what they want to do. And below this video in the description, you'll find a template for negotiating your salary through email. Now, in preparation for a game day, I recommend practicing your pitch out loud and also role play the salary negotiation. So you could do this with either yourself or a friend or a family member and get them to play the actual hiring manager. So you lay out your pitch, you state why you deserve the money that you're asking for, and get them to object, get them to say, look, it's just not in the budget. And how are you going to respond? So practice all that and you'll be far more comfortable and far more confident when you're actually asking for what it is that you want. Now, if the company won't budge on what you're asking for, there's no harm in just throwing a Hail Mary in there and seeing if you can change their mind. And here's a response that you can use to their objections. And it goes a little something like I said, I'm excited at the prospect of joining your team because of, and then discuss how you will bring value to the team and how you will help them achieve their biggest objectives, and then reiterate why you want to work at the company. And your offer of X is a solid number that we can work from. How can we make it? Then hit them with your target number. Then include this final line, and I got this from a career coach by the name of Austin Belchek. He pumps out phenomenal career advice on Twitter and LinkedIn. And he says, as this is the number that I feel comfortable with in order to bring 100% of myself to work every day. Beautiful. Now, I just want to give you a few reminders. The first is to have a walk away number. Enter the salary discussion knowing the absolute minimum that you are willing to accept. Also, you don't want to make it a war. Keep everything civil. Respond with grace if that you feel that their offer is well below what you should be being paid. And avoid getting into an argument, because if things start to get aggressive, the offer could get pulled and nobody wins. So yeah, just be cool. And there's no harm in counter offering. Even if you're happy with the offer, ask for a little more. Assume that there is room to negotiate, because worst case scenario, they can just say no and you can shake their hand and accept the offer. And especially if you get a job offer from a corporation, them paying you an extra 10%, 20% means nothing to them and everything to you. So just ask and make sure you get everything in writing. Verbal agreements, verbal promises mean absolutely zilch. You won't have a leg to stand on. And my final message is to ask for what you want, because if you don't ask for what you want, and if you don't get what you feel you deserve, you become bitter, you become resentful, and this impacts every aspect of your life. So it's so important that you go after what you feel in your heart you deserve, and you deserve. All we're talking here is a few moments of discomfort. That's it. That's all a negotiation is. A bit of back and forth, a bit of, bit of awkwardness, But that's it. You can do that. You can handle that. And the only way that you can get over your fear of negotiating or whatever it is through voluntary exposure, putting yourself in the situation. You're not going to get it through wishful thinking or, planning it out in your head or reading about it in books or watching this video. The theory, all of this, the only way you'll get over the fear is by stepping into it. And the beauty of it is that there's only upside. There's no downside for going after and asking for what you want. These are the kind of actions that transform who you are. They transform your character. You become braver. You become more confident. That nagging voice, that negative voice in your head, it begins to quiet down when you start taking the action that you should be taking. So with all that being said, you may as well just go for it. I wish you every success with getting your money and getting the money that you deserve. Take care, my friend. Best of luck, and I'll see you in the next one.